Hello all, good morning. A warm welcome to each one of you. Some people may be having a good afternoon and good evening based on wherever location you are joining in. Before we get started with the presentation, I would like to bring to your attention to some of the housekeeping items. All the attendees will be in the listen only mode. As and when any of you have any questions, feel free to use the chat options and share your questions. Okay, so if people are not speaking, please go on mute. Thank you. Okay, just to do a quick introduction, myself, Naveen KS here. I think I can hear some background noise. If you don't mind, can you please go on mute? Thank you. Okay, myself, Naveen KS here. I am basically based out of New Jersey in US here. I'm an enterprise agile coach as well as a trainer. I have extensive experience in agile and the lean methodologies, implementing using DevOps, SAFe, Scrum, Kanban, and lean methodologies in different organizations, and work with Fortune 10 companies like United Health Group, Walgreens, and all that. I'm also a co-founder of Agile Coaching World. It's a community basically dedicated for betterment of agile coaches because it requires coaching basically. The agile coaching is not only about teaching what is agile principles and practices, but it's more than that. And I also serve on the board of International Coach Federation's Connecticut chapter here in the US. I hold different certifications, primarily PCC. I'm a trained professional coach. I am also a SAFe program consultant. Hold CSP from Scrum Alliance, PMI, ACP from PMI, and I also took training in Team Kanban. In today's webinar, Lakshmi is also going to join with me. Hey Lakshmi, are you there?
Hey Navi, thanks very much for your introduction and introducing me too. Hi everyone, a warm welcome from my end to each one of you, and thanks for attending this webinar. My name is Lakshmi Chiravoli, and I have an extensive expertise in human capital, culture, and organizational development. Definitely, I have a strong passion for research, agile practices, and workplace culture. I do hold a dual master's degree. One of it is Industrial Organizational Psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology in the US. And the other master's degree is an MBA HR, which I pursued after undergraduating from Industrial Engineering and Management. I am accredited in Human Synergistics, Culture, and Effectiveness Inventory, and hold a professional certificate in Cultural Competence. Also, I'm a SAFe Certified Scrum Master. So in today's webinar, we will be going ahead and giving you a quick introduction to what is Agile People Framework. We will also provide you a brief overview of the manifesto and core values that comprise the Agile People Framework. And throughout this session, there will be a chat option available wherein you can type your questions and answers, and we would address them. So having said that, I would hand it over to Naveen to give you all an introduction to what is Agile People Framework. Over to you, Naveen.
Thanks, Lakshmi. So today we are introducing to Agile People Framework. This is the world's first people framework which caters to the human capital function. So what is Agile People Framework? It's a unified conceptual framework that facilitates human capital strategy, planning, acquisition, and engagement through agile practices. This framework was prepared after conducting extensive research and lots of workshops based on the experience of agile coaches and human capital experts such as Lakshmi and some other people here. this framework is been implemented in a couple of clients. They are still testing that, and we are getting very good framework, and this framework has shaped. So today's business, why we need APO, right? So today's business world is operating in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. You might have already heard about VUCA. It's an acronym basically, and it's continuously changing, right? They're impacting each and every organization. It doesn't matter whether you're small or you're very big. Company needs to be agile if they want to stay competitive and sustainable. Agile has extensive and successfully been implemented in IT primarily function for more than 2 decades, and for last 6 to 7 years there is more prominence in adopting Agile at scale. But for last 2 years, seeing the successes of all this adoption, as well as gaining more tractions and how the companies are becoming successful, it started gaining prominence in different functions and within the organizations. And this adoption of Agile in different functions we call as business agility, aligning businesses to be more agile. Human capital function, I would definitely not call as human resources, because humans are not the resources as it traditionally be called. But human capital function needs to catch up with these nimble changes in order to meet the other areas of the business to be agile, and especially when the millennials and millennials are, as a workforce, are entering into the organization. Talent acquisition is the primarily initial phase where human capital cycle begins, and it needs to be revolutionized to foster hiring agility. That's where APF comes into picture, and this has been developed to respond to various talent acquisition challenges and how to embrace business agility, especially after learning from initial 4 or 5 clients. The framework was built on simple philosophy: the people as enablers, and people drive the change. People drive the agile talent acquisition process. They need to use the right tools, technologies, and the techniques to hire and attract the right talent for the businesses, so that the business could be nimble and agile, and people are basically responsible for involvement of any process within the organization. A lot of work has gone in preparing this framework. For past 7 to 8 months, we have been talking, discussing, implementing, refining it, and socializing this with very experienced agile coaches in the industry, especially on the east coast of university here, working through with the different human capital experts across the world who also have contributed to this framework. We are basically now in conversations to certify 2 to 3 different companies to implement this framework, as well as train their entire talent acquisition team. So what's the Agile People Framework? People Manifesto, right? So we have come up with this manifesto, but before that, what's manifesto? So what is manifesto? It's a written statement declaring publicly the intentions, motives, or the views of the issuer, right? And it's very important, especially when you have a framework, because it serves like mission statement. It's like a driving post for us. So Agile People Framework also we developed this manifesto, and the core purpose is to build better ways of developing and engaging and enrich people experience by practicing it and helping others around as well to practice it. So at high level, the manifesto says we give value to teams of teams over traditional hierarchies, which you might have been already seen in the old industrial age, and a lot of companies across the world still have those traditional hierarchies, and they know the challenges they are facing. The second manifesto is we provide more importance to growth mindset or a fixed mindset. We'll go a little bit more in details. What is that? Having a coaching culture over command and control. We've already seen a lot of organizations, even some nations go in command and control mode, but when it's democracy, when it's a culture where people support each other, it's a different ballgame altogether, right? So having a coaching culture is more important over having a command and control kind of a culture in organizations. The fourth manifesto we believe as a team is we give more importance to transcultural competence over cultural competence. It's not that, hey, we do great business in North America and we don't do that great business in Asia because of X, Y, Z reason. No, we give importance to transcultural competency. So let's begin getting deep dive into each one of them. So in the industrial age, teams are working under supervisor. We all know how the manufacturing industry is to work. And all these supervisors were monitoring the team members who were operating on this machinery. And in turn, the supervisors were taking the instructions from manager. And the managers were in turn taking instruction from different leaders or functions. But in today's knowledge sharing economy, this is no more relevant. We are in a knowledge world where a lot of work is done through computers, mobiles, robots, artificial intelligence, so much so forth. And especially millennials who enter the workforce, they are born and brought up in digital age. They are born with mobile phones and laptops, right? And today's business era is highly unpredictable as well. To add more wrinkle to the complexity, and organization needs to be designed to cater to today's challenges from an agility point of view, from a collaboration point of view, from an adaptability point of view. So we believe as a Agile People Framework team, the team of teams is very, very important over traditional hierarchies. As per the research from Deloitte Human Capital Trends 2017, 94% agree that agility and collaborations are very key success factors. And only 14% executives believe the traditional model in hierarchy job levels based on expertise in specific area make their organization highly effective. Most organizations are undergoing a front to transition shift as well. That is shifting away from traditional hierarchies to a team-centric model. According to Deloitte report, 32% believe that there is a transition underway to design their organizations to be more adaptable and team-centric. As organizations understood that the importance of a team of teams is very key over the traditional hierarchies. So what does this mean is we give more importance to transparency among the team and team members. We set accountability at the team level, at the function level, and then we create an environment where fast decision making is always promoted. There is a constant free flow of information and feedback and collaboration among these team members, and create a nice flux of teams and team of teams. So I would like to take a pause here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat window. We would take a pause to answer your questions as we go along. Thank you.
As of now, Naveen, I don't see any questions. So we might as well continue, and maybe over the due course of the presentation, if anybody has questions, we would address them.
Definitely. Thanks, Sachin.
Great. Thanks, Naveen. So going on to the next Agile People Manifesto, which is growth mindset over fixed mindset. I believe many of you would be very familiar with the age-old debate, or a never-ending quest that I would say is about nature versus nurture. That is an individual's ability, talent, intelligence attributed or predetermined because of the individual's genes, that is nature, or can the individual go ahead and learn and nurture oneself in terms of his or her skills and abilities throughout the developmental human life cycle? So there has been a lot of research that has taken place on this debate, and I believe most of you would also be familiar with a similar kind of question like, are leaders born or are they made? That is, do people have capabilities of imbibing good leadership qualities and become good leaders or servant leaders in today's contemporary organizations. So, having said that, I would like to introduce you all to a key research that has been done by Carol Dweck, who is a famous Stanford psychologist, and she came up with this growth mindset over fixed mindset framework. According to her and many other eminent researchers, an individual is said to have a fixed mindset if he or she strongly believes that his abilities and potential is inherent. The person always avoids challenges, avoids to put in 100% effort, tries to shut down when a feedback is given to this person because this person doesn't want to take it up. If the person sees himself or herself as a threat, the feedback is taken as a threat because it challenges his or her abilities. However, on contrary, the growth mindset is totally opposite. That is, an individual with this kind of a mindset is very much open to constructive feedback, is believing that his or her abilities and skills can be continuously developed as the person grows in his developmental life cycle, has a flair for learning, and also embraces challenges. And Agile People Framework Manifesto emphasizes or gives more value to growth mindset because this is imperative for today's business world where continuous learning, agility, nimbleness, and collaboration are the key to sustainability and competitive advantage at the individual, team, and organizational level. Forward to you, Naveen.
Thanks, Lakshmi. So we will monitor the questions, but the third manifesto is coaching culture over command and control. I'm sure people might heard about this in pockets because a lot of organizations like Accenture, Microsoft and Google's and General Motors of the world are trying to practice this. So what exactly it means is that most organizations are transitioning from traditional command and control to agile-centric way of operating in a cross-functional environment within the teams. And research explicitly correlates this, that the importance of a coaching culture with the organization's performance and employee engagement. That is, the more coaching culture you have, the more better organization performance it is, and highly the employees are engaged. As per the Human Capital Institute and ICF, International Coach Federation's 2017 reports, building coaching culture with millennial leaders, organizations with strong coaching cultures reported 46% higher revenues, and 61% of employee rated themselves as highly engaged with their teams and organizations. 79% of the respondents state their employee value of coaching, and the 71% reported the senior leaders also value coaching. So coaching is very key in today's world. And from Agile People Framework point of view, we believe that as a team lead, instead of calling us managers or whom somebody wants to call us managers, as a team lead or managers, you need to be a coach and you need to leverage the people's capabilities, strengths, and create opportunities for the people to build on everyone's capabilities. For that, you need to have a coaching skills. The managers or the team leads or the coaches needs to develop need to coach the team also, so that in turn they could collaborate, ask powerful questions while they're working on something, or ask powerful questions to stimulate teams thinking and creativity, and create avenues for the teams to grow and develop together. Now, building a coaching culture requires a continuous coaching, continuous knowledge sharing, and creating a learning culture which harnesses agility and collaboration. And Agile People Framework would like to bring this change in today's organizations by creating this coaching culture. We also partnered with Culture Intelligence LLC, where they do provide a specific coaching and culture-related programs for the organizations to adopt these and become highly successful. Over to you, Lakshmi.
Thanks, Naveen. The fourth and the last one in Agile People Manifesto is transcultural competence over cultural competence. So over the past few years, culture has gained a lot of prominence and importance among organizational leaders, practitioners, as well as executives. People believe that culture is very important for an organization to be successful. So what is this culture all about? Definitely culture is something that is learned. So it can be defined as a learned set of patterns of values, beliefs, assumptions, and behavioral norms that an individual imbibes from his or her childhood days. And also, an individual is said to be culturally competent if the person has socialized and practiced to survive in his or her community or society. However, as you all know, that we are not going ahead and operating in a solo kind of an environment. Today's world is global and we are highly dispersed and diverse. Having said that, it means that every country, every nation, all the states, or each state within each country, every occupation or profession, every organization has its own culture and subculture that shapes and influences an individual's behavior within and outside the organization, which means also that an organization does have different business units, functions, divisions, be it human resource, be it sales and marketing, be it supply chain, or information technology. And each of these functions or divisions have their own subcultures. So at any given point of time, an individual will have to interact both at the local as well as at the international level. And it's important because you're operating in a transcultural level, you need to be transculturally competent. So what is transcultural competence? It is the ability of an individual to successfully adapt to different socio-cultural settings, as well as develop new cultural solutions and go ahead and resolve any kind of issues that could have been created by cultural differences. So what are these cultural differences? Definitely, these differences did come into existence due to an individual's own survival mechanism, own way of adapting to the environment as he or she was growing or as and when a company has been forming from the startup stage, and also because of shared learning as a group. So all these kinds of cultural dilemmas creates a push and pull kind of an environment, and this creates dilemmas within the organizations. Trompinars, who is again a very famous Dutch-French renowned organizational and cross-cultural management consultant, came up with the concept of 4 R's in transcultural competence. And these 4 R's means that an individual, as a professional member, needs to understand his or her own culture, also recognize that there are cultural differences that can exist because every member has his or her own set of values and beliefs, respect these cultural differences, and make a conscious effort to reconcile these differences and come up with action plan or realize an action plan with new set of behaviors and new set of solutions. Hence, from an Agile People Framework perspective, we strongly believe that transcultural competence will always have this positive edge because day in and day out, we as individual members have numerous social cultural encounters with other members within and outside the organization. So this brings us to the end of Agile People Manifesto, and would like to pause over here to see if there are any questions from anyone. Okay, so yeah, Naveen, I think we can move on to the next, to the values section and address the questions towards the end. So having said that, so we move on to the next section, that is Agile People Framework Values. Now, when people or organizations are implementing Agile People Framework, it's important that business leaders, people operations advisors, human capital professionals, and each and every stakeholder who are working in the organization practice certain set of values. So let's look into what each of these values are. First is open communication. As mentioned earlier, we all are in an agile world. We all go ahead and give importance to collaboration to have this competitive advantage edge with other organizations. So definitely an open and transparent communication is imperative because it helps to have meaningful conversations between and within teams and team of teams. The next value is feedback. Continuous feedback is very important because it sets the wheels of motion for going ahead and creating an enriched talent experience and employee experience. And definitely, it's important to note that continuous feedback flow on team members' previous efforts will help managers and leaders to identify areas of improvement, communicate the same in an open, transparent way to their team members, and also pave the way to revise processes and practices so that the organization, the team, and even the individual is in this constant or continuous flux of learning cycle or improvement. The third value is commitment. Responsibility, dedication, and accountability facilitates trust and professional team camaraderie. To be nimble, to be agile, it's important that we as people, we as responsible individuals within and outside organizations commit to responsibility, we commit to experimentation and learn from failures. We commit to having a growth mindset, and we commit to quality and continuous customer focus and collaboration. Over to you, Naveen. Okay, I would go ahead and continue with the values. So the fourth one is courage. That is a lot of times you would have seen that employees or team members, they don't step and speak up. And hence, courage is very important for all the stakeholders like business leaders, people ops advisors, architects, and others within any organization. So definitely, it is the time that people need courage to be committed to their roles and responsibilities to help build trust and integrity within the organization and the team. The next value is respect. Building a culture of respect and honor with all stakeholders is very important. Respecting each other's skills, capabilities, and insights is, again, the need for team members to be successful or for an organization to be successful. Respecting diverse opinions to cultivate a habit for deep listening, empathy, and learning is very important. I'm sorry, I guess there has been technical glitch. Yeah, my sincere apologies for that, but we would continue. So having said respect as being one more important value for Agile People Framework, the last value is adaptability. It's a VUCA world, and I already told you all that VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So today's business dynamics and diverse, dispersed social interactional environment with different stakeholders, people need to be adaptable, people need to be flexible to embrace any kind of change, any kind of processes or practices that leads to continuous improvement. So in short, I would like to say that it's important to adapt to people, adapt to process, and adapt to change. Naveen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I think there is some technical challenge. I was clicking on unmute for some reason. It was not unmuting. I apologize about that. Thanks everyone for listening in for the Manifesto and Values. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, that Agile People Framework is a framework which you can adopt in your organization to highly implement the human capital strategy and acquisition process. So this framework we are refining because it was very much customs to a couple of our clients. We are making very generic for so that every organizations could adopt. So what we are going to do next is we are inviting people to come and look at this framework. How could they use this in their organizations at the team and organization levels and practice it? What do it takes for them to adopt it? What do it take them to practice it? What do it take them to, how do they train the people to take this forward? So we are working on creating this full-fledged open source framework. We are creating a certification process also for this so that anyone who understands this very well could say that, hey, he is fully trained in this framework. We are expecting to launch this in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We are just finalizing our exam provider. If you're interested to look into the beta preview before even we launch to the larger audiences across the world, let us know. You can register at the following link, which is agilepeopleframework.org/framework beta preview. Feel free to go there. There is some resources we are going to keep adding in over the next few days and few weeks, and that's the central place for you to enroll yourself and start following us. If you're interested to know more individually or as a group, we could also provide a custom training and custom implementation consulting to each one of you. So feel free to reach us at info@agilepeopleframework.org. Do we have any questions, Lakshmi, so far, or do we can take towards the end?
No, there are no questions as of now.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Also, just wanted to quickly share with you all that we are available on different social media channels. So we are on LinkedIn. Agile People Framework group is there on LinkedIn, Facebook. We have also created a Telegram group, and we are on Twitter, Instagram, and as Naveen already shared the email address, did you have that email ID at your end? We also are going to go ahead and conduct frequent meetups in Bangalore, and also the videos and other information will be uploaded on the YouTube channel too. So feel free to use these as those, source for each of you to interact with us or learn together as a community. Definitely, I would go ahead and email you all these social media channels so that you all have it at one place. And if there are any questions, please feel free to use the chat option button over there on your screen, and we would answer those.